Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Compelling Conversations podcast. Today, I'm very happy to be joined by my friend Rachel. Rachel, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Omar.
Yeah, this is so exciting because I think you're like the first person that I'm talking to since COVID, like a person that I knew in my life before, and like we're catching up now after COVID.
Really?
What was that experience like for you? Because for me, I felt like it literally changed my timeline. Like I'm living a totally different life than the one I would have been living had nothing happened. So I'm curious what it was like for you.
I can kind of understand that. We'll see. Beginning of COVID, I was still in Lone Star and I was getting prerequisites done to try to apply to nursing school, which I eventually did way towards the end of COVID. I would really even say like post COVID. Um, and I got accepted. But by the time that I got into nursing school, with all the COVID stuff and then with all the extra vaccines you have to get now and everything, the way things went, I had already decided I want to be a nurse. So I went to nursing school anyway because I put in all of that work to get there. And my family was so excited. And part of me was still kind of excited because I didn't have any other plans. And I'd worked really hard to make those grades and get in. And so I felt like I accomplished something. But once I got there, it was awful. It was, not where I wanted to be. It was all the people I felt like were just completely different mindsets than I were. They were so excited to be nurses. They were already looking at nurse practitioner school down the road, all of that. And I just was like, I really want to get out of here. So I would say COVID affected that for me. So now I'm just working and I'm still kind of in medical. I don't really want to stay in medical. Actually, really down the road, I just kind of want to homeschool Jack and I's kids one day when we get married. So I don't really have any super career plans, but we'll see if that works out. But I'm in an office now where we staff doctors and nurses. They're called locum tenens positions. And most of them are like temporary work, but in the sense of temporary at like certain locations, they pick up shifts where they want, but many of them have been there for a lot of years working through us. So how did COVID affect things for you? Because back when I knew you in person, you were a barista and then you left to, I think, go
Yeah,
work at like
was
a
it that? Was
men's
that?
wear place, right?
No, it just ended because of COVID. That's all that happened. Like I did get other work after that, but what was so interesting about that experience was I remember like my last shift that I came in for. I just knew when I was leaving, like this is the last time I'm coming here because all that news was brewing, like COVID, COVID, COVID. And I just knew it. I was like, this is the last time I'm coming here. And that's actually what happened. And I felt like that COVID experience for me, when I say that it totally changed my timeline, it was because I felt like it stripped me of something, but in its place, it gave me something else. And I'm happy with that, thankfully. But sometimes I do wonder, what if I was never stripped of that? What if I just kept going that way that I was going? It's so fascinating to me to think about that. And with what you've shared, it seems like, in a way, you were also put on a different timeline. Do you ever regret changing paths, or do you think that you're just, are you relieved that it happened?
I I don't want to say I regret it. I do think about the what if I had continued with nursing school. In truth, though, I mean, it was very difficult for me. Maybe I didn't study enough because I hated being there and I wasn't motivated to be a nurse anymore. But it was difficult. So, there was also a fear of if I didn't drop, maybe I would have failed. And if I chose to pursue something else later in school, then I might have tanked my GPA. But I don't necessarily regret it. I do think about, was this the wisest decision? Because now my parents don't really want to pay for me to go back to school. I think if I pushed it with my dad, they probably would. But I don't want to push it when I don't really have a game plan, when I think that it's potentially I could pick something else that I don't want to do and waste more of their money. So, but I do think about the fact that it would have been a really, a very stable career with making good money and, so I guess I regret it in that sense, but I still think that things are how they're supposed to be. I don't think I'm made for nursing. I was kind of scared that I was going to accidentally kill somebody by giving them too much of their medication or something, or the wrong one anyway. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
With the things that we've been talking about, I'm thinking about the concept of giving up. And I was curious, do you view like what happened to you as giving up, or do you feel as if it was giving forward in a way? Like it put you on to that trajectory to be forward?
A bit of both. I don't think that there's any way to kind of back out of that situation, drop classes that you're currently in without feeling like I quit, I'm a quitter. But sorry, I say so much, but I know that it wasn't for me. I know that just based off of your typical like nurse personality, I'm a very anxious person. I can be very compassionate, but I'm not, I don't think I'm strong enough either in a lot of senses. That I think would be necessary as well to be a nurse. And so I just think that it wasn't necessarily giving up as much as just realizing I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But there are people in my life that are like, you quit, not so much my family, my boyfriend's family more so. His mother was supportive of me leaving nursing school. She wanted me to go pursue something else in school, not go work. But some of his siblings are pretty, not proud of me there. I think that I made a dumb choice. And so I have to live with that, knowing that some people do look down on me for that. But I also wouldn't have the job that I have now or this apartment and stuff like that if I hadn't left nursing school. So
Do you think things are meant to happen to you?
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it feels that way, but other times, I think free will and, I would hate to think that when something terrible happens to someone that was meant to happen to them. So I'm not sure about that. Maybe.
Interesting. Yeah, I did like how you mentioned that you felt like you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I think in some sense that's like a really it's just a cool thing to say. Because I don't think it's easy for a person to recognize that all the time. Or even if they do recognize that, to act on that. What gives you the courage to act on occasions when that happens?
I would say, I don't know if I guess it took courage to tell my parents, hey, I need to drop out, or I really want to drop out. I feel like I have to, because I was very scared to tell them that. I was definitely crying when it happened, but in a sense, I feel like it was almost more cowardice when I dropped than courage. But
Why do you say
my
that?
boyfriend, it just, I guess it's the quitter thing. Even though I don't want to be a nurse, I can't help but feel like my parents paid $10,000 for that semester, and I quit, and because I wasn't willing to push myself through it anymore. And I was scared of other things too. Like Jack and I believe you met him. We've been together 6 years now, 5 at the time in nursing school, and nursing school was eating up all of my time. And the very little amount of time that we did have together, yeah, it was short and it was stressful, and I felt like I was supposed to be doing something else. And normally I would say don't let something like that get in the way of something as important as your schooling or your career or whatever like that. But I've been with him for a long time, so it's different than someone you've only been with for maybe a year. I've planned my life ahead, with him. So that affected it as well. Sorry if I ramble a lot. I've got ADHD, so I kind of
No, you're
go
good.
off on little tangents and get lost.
No, you're good. What I like about just having this podcast, it's really just like a place for people to just kind of say what they want to say. So there's no such thing as a rambling, I don't think, Just say what you got to say. Um, but that whole concept of the coward versus courage, I just think that's so interesting. Um, to me, I feel like it was a courageous thing for you from what you're telling me, because it's like, oh, it takes like a lot of courage to do something like that. Where do you think you find courage for yourself in just different things in your life?
I guess, hmm, I want to say, morals. And my morals are based in, I know you're Muslim, but I'm Christian. And for me, so it is like a God thing, I guess. Not that I always do the things that I'm supposed to. And there's a lot of things right now that I'm not doing the right way. I know that for sure. But I think, very, I definitely had, a lying problem growing up, like everyone. But I really try not to ever do that now if I can avoid it. Stuff like that is just, I don't know. I think back to when I was little and my grandma, she told me there's no such thing as a white lie, and, all lies hurt people and they always come back to bite you and all of that. That's always wrong. And so I think if I feel like it's the right thing to do, or, that I'd be lying to say to my parents, I'm putting in all the effort that I'm supposed to be, and I want to continue in this when I know that I'm not putting in the effort that I'm supposed to be putting in, and that I don't want to continue in it. I'm not doing well. I'm scared for their money. I think that that's where my courage came from, to just tell them I need to get out of this and I'm sorry.
Interesting. Yeah. Is there something about the Jesus Christ character that gives you courage?
I would say so. I think he was pretty rebellious for his times. So,
Yeah, I like how you use that word rebellious. Like in the Muslim tradition, we don't believe he was crucified, but I think it's so interesting that in the Christian tradition that he was, because it's that idea of like him loving people, so suffering for them because of that love. I think that's very fascinating, because that's kind of what love is in a way. It's like suffering. And you kind of see that in the symbol of that story from the Christian version. I think that's fascinating. I think that requires a lot of courage. Suffering requires courage, and so does loving. So interesting.
I agree. Yeah, I would say Jesus definitely embodies all of those elements there. Yeah, I mean, he's sort of, the perfect character. I don't think of him as a character. I think of him as, son of God and God in his own right. I know that, you don't, but I know that Muslims also like sort of, I don't know if venerate is a word that y'all use in like Islamic tradition,
Yeah.
but venerate. Okay. I know that y'all
Revere, I suppose, might be a better one.
revere Jesus.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, to me, he's perfect. So, so of course he would be courageous and loving, and his sacrifice was everything and more. So,
Yeah. And I think that, that like that's a very iconic story among many stories. And I think that's the beauty of stories, is that we hear of like another person being able to do something, whatever it is, and it allows us to do whatever we need to do. And I just think that's so cool. Like, oh, that's where I extract courage or patience or something like that. And I that yeah, it's just what I see in stories. That's the most beautiful thing about them. Like I was watching Rocky the other day for the first time, and I was just
First
so like,
time.
yeah, for the first time. And I what I just loved about him was he was never like it seemed like there was no ego. It seemed like nothing was personal.
Genuine, all genuine.
Yeah, exactly. And I really admired that. Do you ever feel like your ego gets in the way? Do you ever feel like you take things personally, or how do you combat that?
Oh, yeah. I think I like to think that I'm pretty self-aware and that it doesn't get me so badly as maybe it does with other people. But that could be my ego saying, "Oh, I'm so self-aware." But yeah, I for sure I take things personally sometimes. What was your question again? I lost it.
I really admire how Rocky just didn't seem to me like he was taking anything personally. So I guess I'm just curious for you. How do you not take things personally, even when they do kind of get under your skin?
I guess it's not so much that I don't take things personally, it's that I just try not to let people know that that hurt, or you twinged my ego. And maybe that's part of my ego is that, I'll laugh it off or smile or, just try to kind of forgive and forget because I don't want to be seen as the person that's, how could you say that to me?
Yeah.
I think I have lots of flaws, so I don't think that I'm above a lot of things that people might say to me. So anyway, I'm sure I deserve some of the stuff that's coming sometimes anyway.
Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day and they were just telling me like sometimes the ego takes criticism so personally that it just blurs it all out. But sometimes when someone says something to you, maybe it's like the missing piece that could have helped you level up. And I think that's so true. And I guess we just have to be open to it, huh? The criticism.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, but he's received. Oh, moving the world. Sorry. Um, you received a lot of criticism on YouTube yet? How's that going?
You know,
I
it's
haven't
so
checked out your
funny.
page much yet.
Yeah, I really haven't, which is so interesting. It's been nearly a year since I've been doing this, and yeah, it's just wild that I can say thankfully I'm kind of like living the dream. When I first conceived the idea, the vision was, yo, I'll have like 200 subscribers, and I'll just have conversations with the people that I want to have conversations with, whether anyone watches them or they don't, and that's it. And that's really where I'm at right now. So I'm real grateful for that, and I haven't really received criticism, which is just interesting. I
Yeah,
don't know what that means necessarily, but it's interesting.
yeah. I think it's that silent majority, really loud minority thing. And so maybe because your page hasn't grown that huge yet, um, you don't have that many haters for absolutely no reason yet. No, can't imagine why anybody would hate you, but you know, people find a reason to hate anything. So, but
There are
yeah, I'm
naysayers
sure.
everywhere.
Hmm?
I was just saying there's naysayers everywhere, but yes,
Yes.
please do continue.
Oh well, just I think even on some of the more controversial pages out there, I think that the comment section being as bad as it often is, I think it's still the minority of people that are watching those videos that are leaving comments like that.
Yeah. It's a very good point you mentioned, that silent majority versus the loud minority. That is like a culture changer, that phenomenon alone. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Well, and sure. I mean, and you think about like Hollywood, for example, right? What a small minority of people on earth, but they're so loud and they're so influential. And so their ideals are so popular, especially amongst like our age group, right? Our crowd. People are scared to disagree with those people online because they don't want to be seen as, the bad person, the unlikable, you know. So
Yeah.
that's all.
That's like the double-edged phenomenon of being a rebel. Like sometimes it takes you to bliss, and sometimes it throws you to the sewers. It's just
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And it seems like it's so weird with the Hollywood thing because, I mean, disagreeing with them doesn't even really make you, maybe it makes you a rebel on social media, but in real life, it doesn't even make you that much of a rebel, right? Because half the people in this country disagree with them on 90% of things, right? I say them as if I'm grouping everyone in Hollywood together. I'm sure that they don't all believe the exact same things, but the loud ones that speak, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like it feels like you're the rebel, right? Because on social media, it seems like there's really only one acceptable opinion on most things now. So
Yeah, I think that's actually the beauty of the realm of art, because it always seems to me like the rebel is the one that's honored. Because if you think about it, art is literally the thing that creates culture, and the ones that slip through the cracks are the rebels. So being a rebel, even if it's not a very popular thing, it is the thing that
yeah.
changes everything. But you mentioned social media, and I remember that you left. You went off that grid. What was that like? Are you still off? What's that experience been like for you?
I didn't fully leave social media. I kept Facebook just around for family stuff. And lately I've thought about getting rid of that too, because it's mostly negative things on there that I get all these pictures and whatever from people in the family anyway. So I don't really feel like I need Facebook that much anymore. So I might drop that. I don't know. Instagram, I deleted a long time ago. I stopped using Snapchat pretty much. I'll go randomly into it and open some Snapchats from like my sister or something. She's really like the only person that Snapchats me. And we'll be, 8 weeks old or something because I just don't really check. And I'll maybe write, haha, I don't know. But she really enjoys Snapchat, so she sends them to me all the time anyway. Instagram. So I was completely off of Instagram for a long time. I don't even
Why'd you
remember how
leave?
long. Well, I think it's more because I had Instagram from middle school. Not that everything I had posted on middle school from middle school was still there, but just I had Instagram that long, and I felt like the way I'd portrayed myself on social media and so much of that was still up just wasn't how I would, you know, act now or clothes that I would wear now and stuff like that. So it's just it made me uncomfortable to even look at the page or for people to look at my page. And it was all people from high school, most of whom I don't talk to anymore anyway. And some of their lives I just don't want to keep up with. Um, but I eventually downloaded Instagram and I just have like a creeper gram now that I was using for, what did I originally even download that for?
A
Now I
creepergram.
follow, oh, I originally was following like political and religious people just for fun, just stuff to watch. And
What is a
then that was
creepergram?
Creepergram. It's just like I don't post anything. My name's not on there. My photo's not me. It's just like a little profile picture of like nothing.
Just
It's like
to
it's
keep in
from back
touch with
then,
the
right?
world, huh?
Yeah. So now it was like a stalker gram, but I still don't follow anybody from high school or keep up with them. I follow my boyfriend, and that's it. And yeah, I just now it's mostly like fitness people that are on my Instagram that I watch all day. And so now it's probably just as unhealthy as it was for me before because now I watch all these humans with perfect bodies and stuff all day, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to another friend recently, and he made a very good point that we live in a society now where it's like everything's a screaming competition, where everybody's posting something or doing something, and you're the witness to it all. And it's an interesting phenomenon, and it's like, what is this all adding up to? And that's something I've been contemplating a lot recently. It's like, well, what really is all this adding up to? I just don't know. And um, yeah, I don't know like where it ends even, We're
it's
just living it. We don't know where it's going.
it's really, and maybe people in the past felt this way, but it's really bizarre to think about how the world's going to be by the time we have kids that are older, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you see the way that adults in their 30s behave now, and you rarely saw people act that way when we were little, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just sometimes it really does feel like the world's going to end soon. And I think that we all have that crazy feeling. And maybe, maybe it's just like something we hear all the time now. The world has gone to crap and everything's ending. And maybe that's why we just have this feeling of doom all the time. But my boyfriend's mom made a good point, which is just even if you feel like the world's going to end or nothing's ever going to get better or society's crumbling or it doesn't matter. You're just supposed to live like you were dying the next day anyway, right? You just try to do your best and keep going. So that's the goal. And I've been failing that lately, but I try to keep that in the back of my mind and hope that maybe I'm a better person before I die or something. So
Yeah. Don't we all hope for that? I like
yeah,
how you shared that.
thanks.
Something that your last name is Grant, and I was thinking about Ulysses S. Grant. And there's this interesting story about him that I heard from Ryan Holiday, which was that one day he was just he basically had lost a lot and he was just helping his dad sell firewood or something. And so one of his friends walked past him and he's like, Grant, what are you doing? Like this isn't I didn't think you'd be doing something like this. He's like, well, I'm living in the present moment. I'm doing the best that I can with what I have. And then 10 years later, this man is like president of the United States. And so I thought that was really cool how you mentioned that. Like, trying to be the best person we could be before we die. It's just kind of work with what we have in the present moment. It's cool that you said that.
Thanks. I'm glad you think so. I don't feel like I say cool things very often, so thanks for telling me.
Yeah. What do
Yeah.
you feel like when you generally have conversations with people? What do you feel like those conversations are like? Not necessarily like what are they specifically about, but the sort of vibe about them.
I suppose it depends on, the audience, right? Who you're talking with or talking to and how long you've known them and the setting. All of those change things. But I don't know. I I would say in a personal conversation with my boyfriend, it would, it can be very lighthearted and easygoing, or we can just sit there and not talk about anything for 5 hours, or we could talk very deeply and it would, we're expressing what do we want for our lives and how are we feeling and all of that. But I think with most people that I meet, I just met, I usually am very kind of like shy, and I think that they think I'm super nice and super sweet and very well mannered. And then they get to know me for a few more days and they find out that I'm like a wreck and I blab all the time. And when I get anxious around someone that maybe like I think that they're or more so like a group of people that I'm just, these people are so much smarter than me, and they're, I just don't fit in. I tend to like make a little bit of like an ass out of myself. I get real anxious, and that for some reason in that kind of setting, there are settings where when I get anxious, I become very like quiet and just kind of keep to my own. There's also settings where I become kind of obnoxious, just real dumb, and I can't think before I speak, and I make myself very unlikable quickly. It's a terrible personality trait. So, but I think most of the people over the years, maybe I have kind of shown myself that way. I think I've known them for so long now that they know that I just get nervous and say stupid things.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, for as long as I've known you, I've never felt that way. It's like, oh, she's pretty cool. Rachel's pretty cool. You know?
Thanks, Homer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool that you mentioned that because
When
I'm
I
sure there's a
tally
lot
up
of
my friends, I'll one for Omer. Omer's my friend.
Yeah, no, for sure. I appreciate that. There was one more thing I wanted to say to you, which was I thank you so much. I really appreciate like you got my book. That was such a huge surprise to me. It's like so cool. So like yeah, I will like forever remember that. Like thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, it's really cool. I haven't known very many people that have written books. I can't imagine dedicating myself to something like that and following through. I just, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't have the best imagination in the world. So just the fact that you could do that to me is really incredible. I'm super proud of you. And I'm sorry I didn't finish your book. What happened was my
Oh, it's
mother
cool. No
asked for a
worries. No
good book.
worries.
She to go to the hospital for my grandparents. And I don't know what happened to the book after that because I never got it back. But I need to ask her if she has it.
You know, that's
Hopefully, it
so
made it home from
cool
the
that you
hospital.
tell me that. That's so cool that you tell me that. Like now I know. Like Rachel's
Yeah,
grandma, she has that book. That's so cool.
I
Yeah.
think so. I think she has it. Yeah, I think my mom might have it, but hopefully it's around.
Yeah.
Uh, One day I'll
Well,
remember to ask them, and if they don't have it, I'll order it again.
well, thanks, Rachel, so much for being here. I'm happy that we were able to have this conversation. I'm curious, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say, we didn't get a chance to, or something on your mind that you wanted to express?
I don't have closing thoughts other than you were one of the most fun people to work with. And when I look at this coffee mug, anytime I see coffee, I'll always remember that you told me Muslim people invented coffee.
Wow. I can't believe I was the guy that told you that. That's so wild.
Or you were the guy that told me
Interesting.
that. Do
Yeah.
you, before we go, do you have any like interesting memories from Barnes and Noble that stand out to you?
Yeah, the first day I worked, you were the person I worked with. I was like, yo, this girl's so cool. Turns out you were just there for like a little bit. You're really just a bookseller. I was like, damn.
Oh
Do you
yeah,
remember
that was when
that?
they were forcibly cross training me in the
Yeah.
cafe,
And
and
then
they
like
stopped doing that.
the Frappuccino blew up in our faces. Remember
Exploded.
that?
Yes,
Yeah.
they started calling me Cafe Challenge.
Yeah.
So
I remember that. That was
I
fun.
was, and then I didn't have to cross train anymore. So that was nice. I got
Yes.
out of that. Everyone else had to actually do it, and all I ever had to do a couple times was just stand there and tell people the cafe person will be back. They just went to the bathroom, or they'll
Yeah.
be back from their lunch in 5 minutes, and I would hide behind the door and hope that nobody came.
Yes. Yeah. For that job, you really have to be a one person army to deal with everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but it was a good time being there. It was definitely character building. It was fun, and I got to meet cool people like you. And who would have ever imagined here we'd be having a conversation on a podcast?
yes. Well, I never thought I'd be on any podcast ever, but I guess if I was going to do it for someone, it'd be Omer. So
Thank you, thank you. I'm honored to have you here. It was awesome.
thank you. Well, this has been fun, interesting. Um, what an experience.
Yes. Well,
All
thanks so
right.
much, Rachel. You take
Thank
care,
you.
and yeah, till next time.
Signing off. Until next time. Bye, Omer.